Hello and welcome to a new Let's Play of Third Age Total War, which is a mod for Medieval Total War 2 Kingdoms, and we're gonna be starting a new Let's Plays of it in a little while. And we're gonna do a faction vote. So you can select which faction you actually want me to play. I have my own preference, but I think that for my first Let's Play, I'm be perfectly happy going with what you want. Personally, I was thinking either High Elves or the Elves of Lorien, and I will ban Harad and Rune. I don't want to play either of those, though. So, first off, we have Gondor, who... well, they are surrounded by enemies, except for Rohan, which makes for an interesting challenge, but they also have a fair bit of power, I believe, so it should be manageable. And the front line isn't that wide. On one hand, we have the Anduin, which we can hold relatively easily from Minas Tirith, Carandros, and Osgiliath. On the other hand, we have the coastline here, where we'll have Hrad. But I think we should be able to manage that rather easily, so it might be fun. The way I see it, everyone and their mother has already played Gondor, and it's, I don't know. Gondor is one of those which I won't ban, but which I don't feel that interested in. Then, moving on, we have Rohan, obviously, a huge variety of cavalry, but lacking in heavy infantry. Still, they're in a possibly even better position strategically because, well, actually no, they're not, because they have Isengard, they have the Orcs of the Misty Mountains, and they have both Dol Guldur and Mordor surrounding them, so that makes things a bit more interesting. And again, it could be fun, relying on speed and mobility, just have a court or armies of halfway decent infantry and then relying on cavalry to just do hammer and anvil tactics for the most part. Moving on, we have the Free Peoples of Eriador. We lack heavily armored units, which would make things interesting, because I prefer to play with heavy infantry and just have strong, well-positioned lines, but it might be interesting to play, you know, a bit differently. And positioning-wise, they're not in too much trouble from the very start. There's Orcs of Gundabad and Orcs of the Misty Mountains, admittedly, as enemies, but they're in a position where they can easily be dealt with, honestly, for the simple reason that they're on the same... they would come from the same side, it would be the same front. So it's manageable. Dale, well, Dale would have to deal with Rune and with Dol Guldur, but we have the dwarves in Erebor and the Sylvan Elves, and further downwards here the Elves of Lorien, all holding their own territories and helping maintain control of the situation, so I don't think it's one of the toughest races necessarily. Now the High Elves are in an interesting position come the start of the game. Most of their holdings are over here. They lack really populated cities, for one thing, and their best city is kind of Imladris, or fortress anyway. I don't know what it counts as, actually, I don't remember. But so most of their cities are here, so they can't, and they only have one city here surrounded by enemies. And the thing is, it's kind of a sucky position, because we have the Isengard, the Orcs of Gundabad, and the Orcs of the Misty Mountains surrounding us here, and it would be a pain in the ass to operate from Imladris, because we wouldn't be able to recruit the amounts of troops we would actually need to do this effectively. Well, most of our holdings are over here. At the same time, well, since our holdings are over here, it's extremely difficult to carve our way up to Imladris somehow, or Rivendell, and as such it kind of creates an interesting situation where we kind of try to expand in one place and stay in place in another, right? Because, well, we can easily build a pretty big, if basic, army in, you know, these coastlines here, but getting it to where we need to be, it's kind of a balancing act, both budget-wise and cash-wise, well, time-wise and positioning-wise and so on. And that's the problem with all the Elven races. It's long recruitment times and expensive units which replenish very slowly, right? It's not that you just not just that it takes long time to recruit a single unit, but it takes a while before new units become available, so you have to use your resources very, very carefully. Then again, that's the fun, right? I like quality over quantity, actually. Which is why I want to play an Elven race. If not High Elves, then maybe the Elves of Lorien, or failing that, the Sylvan Elves. And moving on, and yeah, the High Elves don't lack cavalry. They don't. They have some cavalry and it's decent cavalry, so it's fine there. The Sylvan Elves and the Elves of Lorien, I think, have horse archers, which is kind of suckier, but still workable. Anyway, the Sylvan Elves have a couple of holdings here. Their power is concentrated. They don't have to defend a large front line, while at the same time, of course, they have fewer holdings and it's harder, but they're not surrounded by enemies. They have the Elves of Lorien to the south, dwarves and Dale here, and they only have one holding of Orcish lands to the north and one holding of Mordor's, namely Dol Guldur, to the south. So it's not too bad as long as either one of those is taken out quickly. It's actually pretty sweet. The Elves of Lorien, their power is even more concentrated, but they're surrounded by enemies again. Dol Guldur, Orcs of the Misty Mountains, and Isengard, so that's a bit iffier, but still perfectly manageable. Well, everything's perfectly manageable, but you know. The dwarves now, the dwarves are a mess, their power is spread out, and again we have the balancing act. Although in the west we have few enemies, so we can sort of try and grab uncontrolled lands in the west to boost our economic base while developing these areas in the east to be military bases and then expanding from the east. Still again, to some extent, a balancing act. And then of course we have Mordor, which, well, kind of speaks for itself. If we place Mordor, we're gonna ditch all the Orc generals, we'll gonna try and get every last Orc general killed, and we'll play with Immortal Nazgul and only use Nazgul as our generals, right? Every single army is gonna be led by a Nazgul. That's how we're gonna play it. If that's what we do. And Isengard, well, Isengard's Isengard. Again, Saruman, nasty old man, very fun times. We could have a lot of fun with this. Besides, those Uruks look neat marching in a line like that. After all, we do have to bring some sort of an order to this messy, messy map, right? Then we have Orcs of the Misty Mountains, which, well, yeah, like cavalry and spearmen. Spearmen lacking, that is bad, but I think some of the shittier Orc units, the basic ones, might be equipped with spears, although maybe these particular Orcs don't get them. But we would eventually get Trolls, and we would get Warg Riders, I think. So it wouldn't be too bad. The sucky part here is that we're surrounded by elves, and the AI sure as hell won't have as much trouble as we will. Getting elves to have large and effective armies, they won't have as much trouble raising troops as we would. And it will be extremely difficult because we'll be, on one hand, squeezed between budget constraints, and on the other hand, we'll be facing elves, who will be extremely good at cutting our shitty troops to ribbons. So one of our holdings is here, so that's Sylvan Elves. We have Imladris to the east, Elves of Lorien to the west, and that's a pretty boned position to be in my opinion, which might make it interesting because it's such a challenge. I don't know, it's up to you. And then we have the Orcs of Gundabad who are in the north. We have maybe a bit of Sylvan Elves, but mostly it's gonna be the High Elves, the Free People's Vereador, and maybe a smidge of dwarves. So, well, at the same time, our holdings are a bit more compact, so it's not too bad. Although, the Orcs of the Misty Mountains get Moria, so that goes a long way. Actually, yeah, the Orcs of the Misty Mountains could raise a great many troops, because they'll have those mithril mines. And then, of course, we have the Wild Men of Dunland, who are essentially some random barbarians who are trying to survive in these tough times. I think they don't necessarily do that well, but I'm certainly willing to give it a try. So, anyway, let me know what you think about this. Make sure to leave your comments and your votes, and I guess I'll start, I don't know when. Maybe come the new year after the exams in the university. I don't know, it depends on how quickly I get some comments with votes and how clear a winner we have or how much of a tie it is, that kind of thing. But, well, make sure you comment and we'll start sometime. So, I'll see you guys later. See ya!